Right, hello. So the title of the stream should be pretty straightforward. Basically, this has nothing to do with the football match that's on. It's Spain versus Italy, isn't it, tonight? As you know, I'm not really into football. I've been watching a little bit of England in the current one, but, you know, I've got really no interest in football. Right, I'm going to have to do the pop-out chat again because the regular chat is broken as usual. And I've got it set so you have to have been a subscriber for around 3 months, I think it is, to comment on this one. That way we should at least stop any trolls coming out or people who are just going to spam stupid questions. It's actually quite a useful feature. All right, Lewis. All right, Brighthole. All right, Wendy and Woot, or Wout, how your name's pronounced. So there we go. This came much faster than I was expecting, and it's in the PC. Very, very happy with it. The performance is excellent. So at the moment, what surprised me with it is you can actually mine on it while you're playing games, and it just like throttles down the mining speed to get the game to run well. As in football in the UK, Sean. As in what most countries would call football or soccer. Because US football is like the only country that has that. So, you know. So yeah, at the moment I'm getting at just over 100 mega hash a second with the. All right, Craig. Well, Brighthole, it's for gaming mostly, but also yeah, it's very good at mining because the 3090 is just the best GPU you can get at the moment. I think there's a couple of GPUs where they might be better in slightly other specs, but this is like the overall best GPU on the market. Obviously, price performance is probably not, but I just thought I'll buy a new 3090 and then just be done with it. All right, Justin Vapor. So, yeah, I've registered it for its 4-year warranty. It was completely brand new when I got it. Yeah, TXE Gaming, because my 5700 XT, so my previous GPU, I don't think I'm going to be able to fit this in the case. Well, not the case, but, you know, on the motherboard. So that was my old GPU. This is actually fairly good. It's just that I wanted to get something completely top end. So I'm going to put this in my old PC case and then just use this to mine 24/7 with. An RTX 3090, right. I waited for antics till I saw a seller with them in new for close to the RRP. So I think the RRP on them is anywhere from £1,600 or dollars upwards. I paid about £1,900. A lot of sellers, though, at the moment are still trying to get like $2.5 grand for them. So don't pay that. Cheers, Will the World 2 Collector, and you're right, Flazzy. So replaced this card. Like I said, this card still works fine. It's just a bit old now. Yeah, well, Bright, I think American football is literally the only, you know, country where it's not soccer type football and they call it football. So this I will be just putting into another machine. Don't you have a proper heat sink on your computer, Katie? Yeah, well, like I said, you're not going to get a 3090 for £1,000 unless it's a second-hand one that might be knackered. You're going to have to pay closer to £2,000. But if you want a card that's going to last you years, then yeah, it's got a 4-year warranty on it. There was nothing. I looked in the small print of the warranty, and it didn't say, you know, you can't do this, you can't do that, like some of the warranties do. So anyway, that is my current card, and it looks like it will be making at least £10 a day, probably a bit more than that, mining at the moment. So, and that's, you know, even if I'm playing games on it and that. So that means that the card will have covered itself within 9 months, and then it will be pure profit. And that's even factoring electricity bills. Because I did work that out earlier, and the card's currently using like 20p a day of electricity. Well, as I said, Jim Bob, there's not been any more for sale recently when I've looked, and within 9 months, this is making money. So it's an investment. But yeah, it's like, again, it's a lot of money, but good hardware is a lot of money. Sadly, I did not steal $800 from UKT, because if I did, then half that card had already been paid off of it. That's kind of weird, Brighto, isn't it? That it's not the primary skin if it's a realistic one. Oh yeah, it will be the little one, TXC Gaming, that looks a bit like the ones that are in DP5s. All right, Rajiv? I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but if you did, let's see if I can get the cable unstuck, because it's wrapped around shit. Hang on, webcam cable. How's that? Cool. That's really weird. Bear with me 1 minute. I'll push that shit out of the way. There you go. So now I've got this caught round other stuff now. But yeah, there's the GPU. As you can see, it's gigantic. I'm not going to bother taking the cover off of there again, but no way could I fit my other GPU underneath that one, because look at the size of that thing. There's definitely not enough room there to fit my other GPU under it. Well, as I've said over and over again, if you are saying literally the best gas mask, probably something like the FM53 or FM54, but that's not my favourite gas mask. But in terms of like, pure amount of features and build quality, probably an FM53 or an FM54. No, Joshua, because I'm not interested in the football. But if somebody's abusing kids, they're like fucking scum, aren't they? And I don't mean like nonce abusing kids, because that's even more of you deserve a bullet kind of thing. But somebody like bullies a child as an adult is a fucking scumbag. Sounds like a Neil Breen type thing, I am the most famous computer hacker in the desert. You would have to use a very cheap webcam, TXC Gaming. Only my DP2 Strontium 90 source is active enough to make a webcam kind of flash. Yeah, Rajiv, that's why I went for the 3090, just because it's a big step up from the card I currently have. So it means on payday I'll get a 4K TV and actually finally get around to playing games in 4K now that the TVs aren't silly money as well. But yeah, like I said, the idea of it is within a year it will have paid itself off, because when I'm not playing games, it's mining at full speed and still not getting too hot. So to give you an idea, at the moment, it's mining at about 100 mega hash while I'm doing the stream, 100.872, 100.7 mega hash. And the temperature of it, the temperature is currently 67 Celsius for the card, and the fan is going at 90%, but the fan is actually really quiet on there. It's really good. Well, I suppose it's because it's 3 fans on that card as opposed to just like one slightly bigger fan. Yeah, that's a great price for M15s. Yeah, it's a great card, Polbro. Like I said, the good news is it does seem like GPUs are finally turning back up in stock now. A lot of it is probably because of just the fact the CCP has banned like crypto mining in China and is probably gulagging people for crypto mining. So that's like a big market for GPUs literally just taken out. How long would this take to mine 1 Ethereum, Flazzy? I can literally work that out for you with a calculator. Well, actually, so it's mined so far today. Well, bear in mind that this card wasn't installed in my PC until about 1:30 this afternoon. But so far today, it has mined 0.0014 Ethereum. Some of that would be what the RX 5700 did. Let's just get a calculator. So Ethereum hash rate calculator. Just give me a moment. So I don't want one that does all the power consumption shit. I just want one that works out how long it takes to mine Ethereum. Tell you what, I think Unmineable has a thing like that, doesn't it? Give me a second, and then I'll go back to the chat. So Unmineable, Ethereum, not Ethereum Classic. Your hash rate, let's just put 100, because I can get up to about 130 without getting it too hot. I'd rather run it, you know, at a sensible sort of thing. Okay, so each month it will get 1/10 of an Ethereum, basically. So, yeah, it would 10 to 11 months, Flazzy, for one Ethereum. So, yeah, you're probably looking at £3,000 made by it per year. Yeah, exactly, TXE. I'm used to having old GPUs that made loud noises. So as much as something like that is very expensive, I think if you just want to get a good GPU and not think about it anymore, the top end ones are good like that. Ethereum is currently, let's work it out. So 1 ETH to GBP. One Ethereum is currently £1,678. So there you go. So that card will make over that per year, assuming that the price sticks at that. Yeah, Fluzzy. And again, because that's an NVIDIA GPU, there are a couple of other cryptos. I think Raven Coin's one of them you can mine with it. But yeah, the idea with it, Flazzy, is my old GPU, if it would still fit in this PC, which it won't, because of the fact that, you know, the 3090 is a fucking gigantic card. So it's, you know, taking up like that much space on the motherboard. So I can't put the 5700 in this PC again in the secondary slot. But what I will do is set up one of my old PC cases, because you don't need very good hardware for it. Just have that running and then mining non-stop, just in another room, because it doesn't even need to be in like this room. There's just one I just need to plug a monitor in, set it up, and then it can just, you know, work in a room where nobody's going to be in it. So that will add about 50, you know, mega hash of Ethereum per day. Oh, you know, 50 mega hash a second worth of Ethereum per day to the other total. I can set it to work on the same pool. Yeah, that's the thing, Rajiv. I think one of the reasons it's so big, though, probably is because it's got a really good heat sink on it. Because that's what I've noticed, is it's like a lot of it is kind of like a radiator sort of, you know, like heat sink kind of thing. Oh, that was a good price for it, TXC Gaming, considering, you know, what card prices are like, or have been like a while ago, up until like now. Yeah, like the RX 5700, I think, is probably equivalent like to maybe a 1070. But again, it's kind of hard to sometimes directly compare cards, because sometimes they do better at some things and not as other things. It's not that heavy, Pole, bro. Let me look that one up, Brighto. Is that like the woodland looking one? If so, I like that camo. Yeah, I like that camo. It's a bit dark for around here, like where I am, but it is a nice camo in terms of, you know, just being I need to try a load of games, though, that have DLSS on, whatever it's called, you know, like where you can do the sorcery to, like, make a 240 picture 1080p with, like, AI kind of upscaling. Although, annoyingly, when I looked it up, not that many games have it. So, I know Red Dead Redemption 2 does, but there's not much point in running it in a low resolution when that card can handle it at 4K anyway. But oh well, I won't worry about 4K till I get my new monitor, because obviously this only does 1080p, so there's no point running games in 4K on this monitor, just because of the fact that, you know, it's a waste of resources. I mean, lead isn't going to do much to protect you from nuclear fallout, drunk Russian, unless it's lining a fallout shelter. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you had some sort of body armor with metal plates in, that will massively cut down the dose you'll get from weaker X-rays. But, you know, you can't just magically wear lead and suddenly be safe from all that sort of stuff. Because, you know, the high energy gamma rays are going to go through lead like it's nothing because of how they work. All right, cool. I'll have a look at that. I've not played Minecraft in ages, but I've heard a lot of people said Minecraft is really cool, that sort of stuff. What's your price range, Jack, for the night vision, because the problem is some people have very different ideas of what they consider entry level. I have no idea who that person is. Unless is that Ted the Bomber? That Ted, the let's live in the woods and make bombs. That bloke, bit of a weirdo, isn't he? Well, wasn't he a mathematical genius? I don't know. I've never really looked into him. Oh yeah, so it is the Unabomber. Yeah, that was saying. I thought his name sounded familiar like that. I couldn't think if it was actually him or not. Yeah, assuming that Lake doesn't somehow leak in, Alex saying that would work, yes. Interestingly, Calvert Hatch is actually, the bunker at Calvert Hatch is built below a man-made reservoir. Alright, for $500, you might be able to get a Gen 2. But you could very reliably get a Gen 1 Plus. But yeah, I'd say look at something like the Pulsar, the model of Pulsar I've got as a Gen 1 Plus, and then see if there's any Gen 2s in good enough condition secondhand. I mean, Joshua, like I said, I don't really know I'd want to be looking up videos like that. Seems a bit weird. Oh, I didn't even know there was a RoboCop game coming out, Rajif, but that would be interesting. If it's like Terminator Resistance, but as RoboCop, that would be brilliant if they did a game like that. As in like complete fan service. But yeah, so Calvert Hatch, as I was saying, the drinking water for the bunker was in a reservoir that was above the top floor of the bunker. And yeah, part of the idea of that is it will lower the amount of gamma radiation getting through. And I suppose gravity feeding means that the water's more likely to go through the pipes easier than if you had the water, down below that needed pumping up. Yeah, Flazzy. What's really annoying as well is when you buy 20mm rail stuff and some of the bits don't quite fit on some of the 20mm rails. I don't know if you've run into that. I found that with like grips and some sights that are meant to be 20mm. Like the good sights, the ones or like whatever you're putting on, are the ones that you can take them off at each side. So you take each side off, then you put each side on, then you like tighten the screw or the nut up or whatever, and then it's on it. But some of them, yeah, you can't. You can only take one side off or slightly loosen it. So some rails like are a bit too fat, and like, oh, it's not going on even if it's meant to be 20mm. Blood Fresh Supply is Blood the kind of like Doom like sort of Doom or Quake shooter? The only game like that sort of stuff I've played recently. Actually, no, Blood is the even older one, isn't it? Blood is kind of like a Doom type thing, isn't it? I don't think gamma rays necessarily fade colors, Alex saying, because I think it's UV, isn't it, that fades colors? Yeah, same Brighto. It's with a lot of camos. I have noticed though that depending on what they're printed on affects the quality of the camo. So with like British and like German surplus, sometimes the camo looks a lot better depending on what it's been printed on. All right, South Wales Outdoors. All right, Rich. Yeah, I think I've got all of them on Steam. What's the game I'm thinking of then that's like a more modern one? It's one that I've seen on Steam a load of times, so I've never bought it. But I did get H-Rot, and it's like one of those games like H-Rot that's kind of like a modern Quake, I think. Like, that sounds annoying, Fuzzy, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know. The thing is, though, the moon landing has a lot of crazy conspiracies tied to it. I mean, it's kind of sad because the whole moon landing thing was just kind of like one of the best things science ever did. I know it was based off of like building more efficient nuclear delivery systems, but putting people on the moon and then getting them back. It might be Dusk. Let me have a look. Because the Steam sales are on at the moment, aren't they? Yeah, 45% off. So Dusk is £8.24. Yes, Dusk is the one I was thinking of. Overwhelmingly positive. So yes, maybe I will pick that up. As much as it's not really going to be very challenging, is it, on my my new GPU? But still, but yeah. But yeah, but yeah, like obviously the thing with the moon landing is like when all the people are like, oh, they couldn't have done it. It's like, well, it actually, with all the technology they had, it would have been kind of stupider to fake it in a way, in the sense that, you know, like they had the missile systems that essentially the rockets were built off of. You know, they had all these guidance systems. Don't get me wrong, it was a massively impressive, like saying, amount of engineering, mathematics, and all that, landing men on the moon and getting them back. But they've done it more than once. But you know, my point is when you get all the conspiracies saying like people haven't been to the moon, it's like, wow, this was in an age where two superpowers were trying to like build more and more nukes, you know. Yeah, I'd quite like to see if I've got something on my PC that might challenge my card. That's the only thing, but I don't know if there is anything, because like I said, everything I've tried with it so far, I mean, when I get a 4K monitor, it will make it a bit more of a challenge. But yeah, at 1080p, nothing struggles, of course. Yeah, and that was the thing, like saying that a lot of the technology they had anyway, because a lot of it came from like the nuclear delivery systems. Do you think you didn't see moon rocks because they're not there? um, the thing is, Sing, the good news is like nobody's forcing you not to wear a mask, are they? So if you want to, if you still want to wear a mask, you can do. And I'd definitely be wearing a mask in some crowded places, I reckon. But yeah, the only annoying thing is I reckon there will be a lot of people that, because they're told they can use their own discretion now, are just going to be completely fucking obnoxious about this sort of stuff. But yeah, sadly, a lot of it is money-wise, Alex Saint. Obviously, a lot of that stuff that happened in the Cold War was simply because, like I say, it was a dick-waving contest between the Soviets and the Americans. You know, like, so obviously, you know, the Soviets put the first satellite into space, Sputnik. You know, Yuri Gagarin was the first man in space, allegedly, although there's kind of ideas that maybe they sent somebody up before that and they died horribly, so the Soviets covered it up. You know, then the Americans beat the Soviets to the moon. Which one's Warzone? But as for somebody saying about Battlefield 1, it's all right, Battlefield 1. I prefer Battlefield 5 if you ignore all the SJW crap. Yeah, but they don't have any budget for it nowadays, do they? Because lots of that money's just been like assigned to other things. But back in the Cold War, it was considered a big strategic thing. Depends how you want to spend your money. I mean, the original ones would be much better, I imagine. But cheap copies, if they're cheaper, and you just want a copy, go for the copy. Yeah, and they did monkeys as well, Richard, and stuff like that. There's I think you can find a video on like the two surviving NASA monkeys like they sent up and that came down without dying horribly. Doesn't sound like it would interest me then. Call of Duty Battle Royale sounds like something I'd avoid like the plague personally, but yeah, Control has DLSS support, doesn't it? So when I get back to playing Control, I'll probably put the DLSS stuff on, just so it looks a bit nicer. I mean, I could play some Bad Company 2 on this card, but that's not going to test it. But yeah, the problem is, obviously, is just the thing of, you know, when you get a really good GPU, The other problem I have, of course, is that I don't like a lot of modern games. So I've got something like that, and I'm like, oh, let's play some early 2000s games on it. I wonder if my frame rate would be in source with that. I'll have to try that at some point. You know, turn off VSync and see how high the FPS goes. I imagine it'd be insane, like probably into the thousands, but you know. I played a American Civil War thing quite recently that was like a realistic line battle type one. But the problem is they don't become fun because of how slow it is to load your musket. So it's basically slowly advance down the street, a line of other musketeers shoot you. It's like, oh. That's all right, Mike. I haven't played much more since we last spoke about it. But yeah, I'll probably play quite a chunk of it this week, I think. You can have like an oxygen supply or an air tank supply with a mask, yes. But well, Rainbow Six Siege, I've got it. I don't think I'm going to waste the hard drive space reinstalling it because I got pretty pissed off with it with all the updates when I kept rebalancing the game. But it would be able to. I could run Rainbow Six Siege fine, actually, saying that on my 480, I think. So I really would have no problem on that. Yeah, what? I'm trying to think on my Steam game list if there's anything particular. I'm also trying to think, is there just any horribly unoptimized games that it might be able to, you know, just brute force through? Let me have a look. I was playing Paint the Town Red earlier on that card because why not? 7 Days to Die is like zombie Minecraft, isn't it? I might try that again and see what that looks like with that. I'll have to eventually get around to playing Stalker on it for obvious reasons, because I'm sure Stalker will run like shit on a shovel with that card. Chernobylite. I definitely need to get around to playing Chernobylite on this card. Yeah, like like I said, the problem I have is that I prefer older games to newer games. I suppose Euro Truck Simulator, but I could run that fine anyway. I could see if Fallout 76 runs without stuttering on this card. IL Sturmovik Cliffs of Dover might look quite good on that. Because that's got quite high specs for running it, hasn't it? In terms of like looking pretty good. Yeah, I don't think there's many games on my Steam account that it would struggle to run, because most of them I could run on my old card fine anyway. But... oh, I'll go back to the chat. I prefer the look of wood, but I think polymer is a lot more functional. Yeah, Subnautica might be a good one to try again. That's a good point. Yeah, Left 4 Dead 2 is really good fun. Like, I like Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 actually, but yeah, there's that new one that I just don't have any interest in. What's it called? Back 4 Blood or something like that. I'm like, oh no. Sadly, Paul, bro, I'm not gonna bother installing War Thunder just because of how big the download is. But yeah, War Thunder would be a good shout. It's just I can't see the point of like downloading an 80 gigabyte sort of size game just to see the fact that it will run well on the card. I haven't got Metro Exodus, but I might get that at some point. I've got 2033 and Last Light. Right, so the UK's kind of got two things going on, Katie. The cases are going up, but deaths are very low because of vaccination. So lots of people are getting mildly ill with COVID, but very few people are dying from it. Right, see you, Rich, if you're off. But yeah, Subnautica's one for me to try. Well, I guess you're newish to the channel, are you, Evan? Because I'm medically unfit to serve, even if I wanted to. I think out of all the ones I played, I like Last Light the most, but I did like 2033 a lot more when I replayed it than I did the first time I played it. Is that the shooting? Is that the FPS Flazzy with the massive servers, like where there was 3 teams, and then it was like 64 player maps or something, wasn't it? Is that the one am I thinking of the right one? Yeah, I've got that on PS3. But annoyingly, by the time I got it, it was when there was not many servers still up for it, so you'd struggle to get into a game. I liked Team Fortress 2 before they added too many updates to it and completely broke the balance of the game. But yes, if stock TF2 was still a thing, I'd play it, but it's not. I mean, Stalker 2 might be an interesting thing to try. It just looks a bit too scripted for me from the thing. All right, Nick. There you go. That might interest you. Just talking about cryptos and GPUs and everything. But yeah, I'm very happy with it. Like I said, I know the 3090 is not the best like price performance card, but I thought, fuck it, I'll just get the top end card and then not worry about getting a new GPU for ages. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any particularly older games I want to replay. I might see how Arma 3 runs on this GPU at some point. Because Arma 3 was one of the games I don't think I could max out at 1080p on my old one. I'm trying to think what games there are which you can just really stress the graphics on. You know, like ones where it just lets you turn up like amount of on-screen shit to a point. Teardown might be a good one to test that with. No, you won't LX8 because I never played it. I was looking forward to that, and then they did too much like pre-order bullshit with it, and I was like, oh, okay, that looks shit. Well, I was saying the problem with Stalker 2 is from what I've seen in the trailer, it looks very scripted. It looks more like a Metro thing, doesn't it, than Stalker? But you know, I might give it a try. Like, I really do hope it's good. You know, I don't want modern games to be bad. It's just I like Stalker because it's a clunky open world, sort of. All right, Dan, I am good. How are you? That came today. You know, 2 days before it was due. So yeah, that was good because I was actually out and they left it with one of my neighbours that's quite responsible. Because we've taken a couple of parcels in for this person before. You know, otherwise we don't really speak to him. And then I think he like caught the driver, you know, when he was going to leave the thing and said like, you know, oh, I'll sign for it and give it him later. So I mean, airsoft would be cool, but the problem is there's not really any sites near me. Yeah, Nick, the thing is, I still like Arma 2 more than Arma 3. It's like, I don't know why. Arma 3 I should like more in terms of like the specs of the game, but I think Arma 2 I like more just because it's kind of like, you know, an early 2000s sort of all realistic military equipment as opposed to like 5 minutes into the future. Actually, that's a point. I'm just thinking, there might be some driving games I've got actually that really like stress GPUs. Yeah, I've not got any good scanners or radio things like that. It's already set up, Dan. It's set up and it's mining right now while I'm streaming. It gets over 100 mega hash a second when it's not being put on full power. I got up to about 130 mega hash a second earlier, but that was like running it a bit hot and I didn't want to carry on doing that. But what is cool with this that I couldn't do with the 5700, because with the 5700, if I was, you know, like running it to mine and then you launch a game, it would either just cause the drivers to crash on the card and essentially reboot your PC, or the game would run at like 2 FPS. Whereas what this one seems to do, which is really good, is say I launch any of the games now, it will prioritize the game, and then it just lowers your hash rate to whatever the highest it can go, where it won't interfere with the game. So that was good, because it meant like I could still get something like 40 mega hash a second with Red Dead 2 maxed out at 1080p. And then I was playing like Command and Conquer, and it was getting like 90 mega hash a second, because it's obviously like an isometric RTS. Well, I definitely like things like the FAL, Evan, but the problem is, like, yes, as you said, if it's as a rifle as opposed to like a light machine gun, then yes, it's going to be pretty uncontrollable. There are videos of people who are very good at controlling them full auto, but it's definitely like not designed to be, you know, anything more than just a bit of suppressive fire from what, as far as I'm aware. How expensive is it where you are, Halon? Because I don't get that, because where I am, it's super cheap. It's not even super cheap, but it's, you know, like it would use 20p per day for, you know, pulling in over £10 of Ethereum. That's still a very good profit margin. Because don't forget, if you've got a fridge freezer in your house, that is using way more power than your PC is using. All right, Vladimir? Tell you what, I did see the other week, Flazzy, a rifle that's in loads of films, but I never knew the name of, and I looked it up. It was, I think, the Remington Model 70. Let me check if that was it. Remington Model 70. Is that the one? Sorry, Winchester Model 70. Winchester Model 70 is a gun that's in loads and loads and loads of films, and I only found out what it was the other day. Because it's in Turkey Shoot. It's the gun Thatcher has in Turkey Shoot. The Cop has it in Assault on Precinct 13, the, you know, proper original John Carpenter one. And it's like, you know, one of those bolt actions that's just in loads of old films. That doesn't sound good, Adam. No, Nick, it's so if you search Winchester Model 70, let me get you a picture of it up, unless YouTube gives me a strike for showing a gun on a stream, even though I'm not going to be holding it. Here you go. This is fairly low res, but this will give you an idea. Obviously, I think they did it in a couple of different calibers. See you, Alexei. The XVR. Oh, that's cool. But yeah, so they're saying that's the one. I was saying it's just cool when you find out what something like that is. You know, you see it in loads of films, because obviously it's more of a sporting gun than like a mil-cert gun. That's like why I was more you know, I didn't really know what it was, because obviously when you see Lee Enfields or Mausers, you know what they are. But yeah, you'd be surprised if you look up, you know, like one of those film gun database websites, and you put that in, how many films have that rifle in, you know, just for a generic, like either sniper or like hunting rifle or whatever. Oh, that's a point. I might actually play GTA 4 or GTA 5 on this card. What was the last thing you said, Brighto? Work at the weekend, Dan. Yesterday didn't do all that much. Today I did dog walking, and the card came, and thankfully somebody else signed for the card so I could pick it up, and I didn't have to wait in again for it tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to be in all day waiting for a plumber to do stuff, because that's something that's been going on and on and on for ages. It's a long story. It's not like the plumber's fault. It's just basically it turns out a load of the stuff in this house is completely fucked due to the age of it. So, you know, when they try and do one thing, they find the problem goes deeper. I'm really not sure, Evan, because the laws on some of those things can be quite strange. No, did you say something about 308 being like a good sniper rifle round or something, Brighto? If you said that, I think I saw that, but I don't think I read it out just because I was in the middle of saying something. Browning X-Bolt. That's probably another one I know. Let me put that on. That looks nice as well. But There is something I really like about those sort of just classic wood-looking bolt actions that look relatively simple, just because I guess they're very good at what they do. Yeah, all right, Dan. I haven't seen him sadly in a while, just because I've been working on every day. You know, I could have gone up to visit him, but I think in a couple of weeks I am going to have a couple of days where he'll be free, and I can go and see him, sort of thing. Yeah, the other good thing with 308 Flazzy is that the foot-pound of energy of the actual bullet itself doesn't drop much over distance compared to something like 5.56. Because in one of the old military books I've got, there's a list of ammunition shot from different length barrels, you know, like the grain of the bullets, and it shows you what energy it delivers at what ranges. And obviously 308 keeps going for much longer in terms of being able to drop a target than 5.56 does. That definitely didn't go through Brighthole, at least it didn't for me. Yeah, there's quite a few games like that, isn't there, Nick? The really annoying games are the ones that came out when they were really high spec for single core sort of games or dual cores, but they can't really handle multi-threading. So you have these sort of games that, with modern CPUs where they just constantly add more cores, but generally each single core is not as powerful as the old single cores. You kind of have that really annoying problem where these games never run very well. All right, I think that one's gone through Brighton. Oh, looks good. So you got paracord on it, have you, as the sort of emergency thing? That looks good, yeah. I quite like paracord sort of knives, because they're sort of simple, aren't they? Yeah, which was the window? There we go. That's the window I want to open, and then you do pop out chat again. I think Halon, they did eventually, not too long ago, update Gmod to make it have actually multi-thread support, didn't they? But I know for ages it didn't have that. But I think they updated to Orange Box Engine at one point, didn't they? And they probably updated it again, Gary's mod. Yeah, they're cool, aren't they? The big Bren gun drum mags. But yeah, they weren't very common from what I understand, just because of the fact that they probably didn't feed as well, and they were probably a lot more expensive and slow to produce. It's like the same reason the Soviets stopped using drum mags on the PPSH and went to the box mags, just because they were a lot more reliable and cheap to make. So, you know, as good as a drum mag is, you don't really want to be reloading it. You know, it's good for giving you a lot of firepower when you've got it on the gun, but, you know, you probably want a drum mag and then a load of stick mags as your backups. But yeah, since getting this new card, I've only tried one game that's slightly demanding on specs, and everything else I've been doing has just been old games, you know. Oh well. But like I said, if I'm playing an old game that doesn't really use much of the card, it means it still mines really fast in the background. Yeah, they're going to be expensive. The problem is as well, you need all of the proper regulator stuff for the tanks as well. You know, like the pressure valves and everything. So I think, you know, that stops you having some sort of horrible catastrophic accident. You know, but you can't really do it without those because obviously, you know, your life's on the line otherwise. No, so they broke it, did they? At one point. I'm just really trying to think if I got any games that I could not run very well on my last GPU. But yeah, to give you an idea of the size difference for the cards, that's the bag that the 3090 came in. Obviously, it was over like that with the manufacturer's tape on it. But look how small that card looks in the bag compared to the 3090. And that's quite a big GPU. But yeah, because I thought the 480 looked tiny when I got that out recently compared to this card. Because the 480 probably goes to like there. But oh well. like I said, what I'll do at some point when I can be asked to do it is get out one of my old PCs that I've got behind there. There you go. See the old case there? It's actually a better case than my current one, but my old big Corsair case, because I've still got the power supply in it and a motherboard and everything. It still works. It's just not got a GPU in it, so I'll put that in there, and then it'll be a mining PC. Basically, Nick, the main thing with it is how big the heat sinking is on it, I'd say. But yeah, it's basically, with my motherboard, you'd normally have, I think, a PCI slot at the top, which that's in, or PCI Express, whichever it is. I know I've got the slot and it works, that's all I'm sort of worried about. It takes two 8-pin connectors as well. That gives you an idea of the size of it. So, yeah, it takes up that. It takes up the slot in between, and it goes over the next proper PCI slot. So, yeah, it probably is a triple slot, as you say. There's a little bit of room below it, but you're not going to really fit anything in there. You might get a sound card, I guess, in with it, but unless you got, like, a specialist motherboard, I guess. Rhino... Weapon Collector makes custom pistol bolts, so I don't know if they'd be the ones that would be like any good for you. But the metal ones are generally much better than the plastic ones. Just don't shoot them into anything too hard or it's going to bend the bolts. But yeah, everybody's saying buy the ones Mike makes. So support your local weapon collector. All right, David, I am good, thank you. I'm very happy because I've got something actually fun at the moment that, you know, within a year should have paid itself off, so that would be nice. But yeah, right, I'll get a video done tomorrow at some point when the plumber's not around, so I get time to do it, because I don't think he's going to be here all day. I think it's going to be one of those things of get up early for the plumber coming. He'll be here for a few hours. He might have to go and come back a few times. What was in the helmet? $110 for an old steel pot helmet seems a lot of money. But what was I going to say? But yeah, then I'll get a video done. I was in for the RRP for the card. Basically, yeah, it was a bit over the RRP, but not silly considering what GPUs are. So it was about £1,900, as in 1,900. And that was the best price I'd seen on them for ages, because all the other ones I was looking at were between 2 and 2.3 thousand. So yeah, 1,900 isn't too bad, because I think the retail recommended price is like something like 1,600 to 1,700, isn't it? And you're like never getting cards at the moment for RRP. But yeah, I found a seller that wasn't like price gouging to fuck. It was like a proper, you know, computer parts seller, rather than it being like a dodgy person who's probably going to try and sell you a second-hand one as a new one. What size crossbow have you got? Because obviously, I'm trying to think, because the problem is with like crossbows is depending on the draw length of the crossbow and the prod size and like the draw weight and all that, it's going to affect what sort of ranges you get. So obviously, if you've got a heavy draw weight compound, scopes are perfect on them because they do have a, you know, a hell of a range on them. But if you've got like a pistol crossbow, no point really putting a scope on it. If you've got a low draw weight full size crossbow, not really much point putting a scope on it. But heavy draw weight, either compounds or recurves, are definitely worth having a scope on. I don't know if you'd really need a bipod on a crossbow, because you can just literally lay it on like the, if you have a rubberized front grip on it, that'll work fine. But yeah, hang on. It was just, I was quite lucky because I was going to buy one that was like 100 and odd quid more than that. And then the particular site I was trying to buy it from, I think it was Overclockers, my bank card kept not going through on it because of the fact like my bank kept thinking it was a fraud thing. So then I gave up trying to buy it on there, and then I just found one on Amazon. And then with Amazon, I still had a bit of issue with because of the amount of money that my bank was doing like the fraud protection stuff. But eventually I managed to contact the bank and like make them put it through. But I'd have been pissed off if there was only like 2 left in stock, and by the time I'd got it done, they just sold out. But I mean, I suppose it's good to know that there is some sort of fraud prevention on my account. But it's one of those annoying things that I only ever notice it when I'm actually buying stuff, and it stops me buying it. Because I've had that before, where I've bought cheaper things from like the same retailers I've bought expensive things from. When you buy expensive things, they never stop the sale. When you buy something cheap, all of a sudden they're like, "Oh wait, this looks suspicious." It's like, no, I bought from like surplus sites loads of times. My PPSH 41 had my bank freeze my account. They thought it was like I'd been hacked. I was like, no. Anyway, I'll be off in a minute. So I will see Mike when he's on Twitch tonight, playing Resident Evil 8, which I gifted him. Yeah, exactly, Hagelon, because so many people now are in the situation, aren't they, where they just literally, even if they really need a GPU, can't get one unless they want to get scalped. Yeah, Evan, but they also wear the parts down faster. The best thing with Crossbows, I'd say, is go for like a mid-power one, as in 100 to 120 pound draw weight, because 150 to 175 pound draw weight is probably a bit too much for most use, unless you're shooting like deer with it or something. Yeah, exactly, Nick, because I've never had it with boring shit I've had to buy. It's only ever been if I'm like looking at a nice, like, obsolete caliber or a deactivated gun, and then they suddenly think, oh, this is a scam. But yeah, again, that's part of the problem with a bank. You can have your money in your bank account, but sometimes the bank won't let you take it out. And that's also the thing, isn't it, where they've had things before where there's been like run on banks, and the banks limit how much you can take out. So they're basically saying this is your money, but we're not going to let you take it. Yeah, have a good evening, everybody. And as of tomorrow, I'm going to probably start doing a spreadsheet, which will be very boring, but just to see how much Ethereum that mines per day, so I can work out exactly when the card's paid itself off. Yeah, exactly, Fuzzy. Like, I've got £175 crossbows and I can cock them, but it just takes too much effort, and you get worn out faster, don't you? Whereas the lighter draw weight ones, you have more fun with it because, it's, as well as it being a bit safer in terms of if you miss the target, always have a proper backstop and everything. But they're not as dangerous in a lot of ways, if there's a ricochet or it misses, your backstop or whatever. And obviously you can cock them easier because they're lower draw weight and the parts wear down slower. Be very careful asking questions like that, Rhino Bushcraft, because if people don't know you're joking, you'll get a block because it sounds like you're inciting violence. But all right, I'm glad you found the use, Evan. I'm glad you found the info useful. Whatever I said that you found useful, anyway. But yeah, see you all later. Bye.